He ruled Seoul's underworld for 20 years. Then his own blood put him in a hospital bed and walked away, until the wife they called a distraction walked back in. Welcome back, my wonderful family. I'm Angel's Romance Stories. Quick favor before we start, if this story moves you, hit like and subscribe. Goal's 10,000 subscribers this month, and you can help get me there. Now let's begin today's story. The banquet hall in Gangnam smelled like lilies and money. Tuxedo jacket open, watching his uncles work the room like men closing a deal. He was 26. He was already being groomed to inherit everything. The shipping fronts, the loyalty networks, the silence that kept his family's real business running underneath the legal one. He wasn't watching the room, though. He was watching her. Oleta Ledbetter stood near the dessert table, alone, in a green dress that didn't match anyone else's black and gold. She wasn't hiding it. She wasn't shrinking either. You're staring, she said without turning around. I'm cataloging, Hakkun said. You don't belong here. Neither do you, really. She finally looked at him. You just own the room. That's different from belonging to it. He laughed, short, surprised. Nobody talked to him like that. Not in this hall. Later, his grandmother pulled him aside by the elbow, her grip harder than her age should have allowed. That American girl, she said. Do you know what happened to your great-uncle Sangmin? He married outside the family's word. Within 3 years, the elders stopped inviting his wife to anything. Within 5, they stopped inviting him. That was different, Hakkun said. It is never different, she said. It is always the same story. We simply wait to see who plays which part. He didn't answer her. He walked back across the room toward the woman in green, already knowing, somewhere under the noise of the party, that he'd just been warned and that he was going to ignore it anyway. They married 11 months later, in a courthouse, not the family estate. Hakkun's mother didn't attend. She sent a card. It said congratulations and nothing else. No name, no warmth, like she'd signed it for a stranger. The first real family dinner came 6 weeks after the wedding. Olta wore navy, modest, careful. She'd practiced 3 different greetings in the car. Nobody used any of them. His mother greeted every other woman at the table by name. When it was Olta's turn, she simply nodded past her, already speaking to the housekeeper about the next course. She didn't mean anything by that, Hakkun said in the car home. She meant everything by it, Olta said. That's the point. It doesn't cost her anything to erase me a little at a time. No one can accuse her of a single cruel thing, just 100 small nothings. He didn't have an answer for that. He reached for her hand instead. It became a pattern. Seating charts that placed her at the far end of every table. Conversations in Korean that stopped translating the moment she walked in. Photos from family events where she'd been standing seconds before, cropped out before they were framed for the hallway. Hakkun noticed. He always noticed, and every time he told himself the same thing. Not yet, not this fight. My father needs time. Olta stopped waiting for him to say something out loud. She started writing dates down instead. Small notebook, kitchen drawer, nothing dramatic. Just a woman keeping her own record, because she'd learned a long time ago that people who erase you quietly count on you never counting back. 6 years in, the pressure found 2 doors at once. Hakkun's younger brother, T. Yang, started sitting in on meetings that used to be Hakkun's alone. Small things first. A supply contract Hakkun had negotiated for months, suddenly revised by their father without explanation. A territory dispute Hakkun had already settled, reopened and handed to T. Yang to finish properly. They're testing whether you'll fight for what's yours, Olta told him one night, watching him stare at a contract that used to have his name on the signature line and now had his brother's. Or testing whether I'll make a scene, Hakkun said. I won't give them that. That's not strength, she said quietly. That's just letting them win slower. He didn't answer. He rarely did anymore when she said things that landed too close. Her own squeeze came from a different direction. Olta ran a small import business, textiles, mostly African design houses she'd spent years building relationships with. That year, 3 of her biggest suppliers pulled out within the same month. No warning, no real reason given. She traced it back herself, quietly, the way she did everything now. A shell company had bought controlling interest in 2 of her suppliers' distribution partners. The company's name meant nothing to her. The registered address did. It was 2 blocks from Hakkun's family's main office. She didn't tell him that part. Not yet. She wrote it in the notebook instead, next to the seating charts and the cropped photos, and underlined it twice. That was the year Hakkun started coming home later. Jaw tighter, saying less. That was the year Ulta stopped asking him what happened at work, because she'd realized she was gathering a different kind of picture than he was. One where the attacks on her business and the attacks on his position weren't 2 separate storms. They were the same hand, reaching in 2 directions at once. The reader should know this before Hakkun does. It started with his younger brother Yang and a man named Bo Sung who ran the family's shipping insurance, quietly, in a private room above a barbecue restaurant in Itaewon, 8 months before the attack that would put Hakkun in a hospital bed. He's too careful to come it directly, Yang said, turning a glass of soju without drinking it. You attack the wife's business first. Small pressure, he won't even notice it's connected, and if he does notice, then we've already moved the money by the time he does. Yang smiled the way their father smiled, a version of warmth with nothing behind it. Our brother believes loyalty runs one direction, down from him. He's never once imagined it running out from under him. They built it slow, the way you'd drain a tank without anyone hearing the valve turn. A shell company. A revised contract here, a reassigned territory there. Each piece small enough that Hakkun would explain it away. A father testing him, a brother proving himself, nothing personal. The final piece was the hospital, a logistics meeting Hakkun always attended in person, at a warehouse with one entrance and one exit, guarded by men who reported to Yang now instead of him. He'll wake up, Bo Sung said, if he wakes up at all, and there'll be nothing left standing behind him. No brothers in the room, no guards loyal enough to matter, just an empty chair where his authority used to sit. And the wife? Yang waved a hand, already bored with the question. She's nothing. A distraction he never should have kept this long. She'll cry in a hallway somewhere and go home to Texas. The reader knows now what Hakkun doesn't yet. The men closest to his blood built this from the inside, one deniable decision at a time, and they are certain, completely certain, that the woman they dismissed for 6 years is the one thing in this story they never bothered to actually watch. The warehouse meeting was supposed to end by 9. Hakkun didn't remember the moment it happened, only pieces after. A flash of white light that wasn't light at all, just his own nervous system misfiring, the smell of concrete dust. Someone's voice far away saying his name like a question instead of an answer. Then nothing, for longer than anyone would tell him later. He woke up to fluorescent light and a ceiling tile with a water stain shaped like nothing. His ribs screamed when he tried to sit up. A monitor beeped somewhere to his left, steady and different to what had happened to him. The room was empty. Not almost empty, not someone just stepped out empty. Empty in the specific, deliberate way that told him everything before a single person explained it to him. No brothers. No guards, no flowers, no cards, no father pacing by the window the way he'd imagined. Just once, in the version of this he never let himself say out loud. A nurse came in eventually, professionally kind, the kind that comes from practice, not investment. Your family called earlier, she said, checking a chart. They said to let you rest. They'll follow up when you're further along. Follow up, Hakkun repeated. His voice came out wrong, thinner than he remembered it. She left. He lay there doing the math he didn't want to do. 6 days unconscious, the chart said. 6 days was enough time to reassign a company. Enough time to relocate authority, redraw territory lines, brief every guard on a new chain of command. Enough time for silence to stop being an accident and start being a decision. His phone, when he found it in the drawer by the bed, had one unread message from an unknown administrative account. Board is voted. Effective immediately, operational control transfers to Tiang Chun pending your recovery. Please direct correspondence through legal channels. Pending your recovery, he read it twice. Then a third time, like the words might rearrange themselves into something survivable. He was the most feared man in Seoul's underground for 2 decades. And in this moment, in this paper gown, in this fluorescent lit room, he understood with total clarity that fear had never once translated into love. Not from any of them, not from a single person who shared his blood. The door stayed shut. Nobody came. He heard the door before he saw it, not slammed, not tentative, just opened, with the certainty of someone who wasn't asking permission to be there. Ulta walked in. She wasn't crying. That was the first thing he noticed, and it confused him for a second, because some old instinct in him had already built the scene where she'd be soft and frightened, and needing him to be strong for both of them. That wasn't what walked through the door. She had a black folder under one arm, held the way other people held things that mattered. Why are you? His voice cracked. He tried again. Because everyone else in this family loved your crown, she said, pulling a chair beside the bed. Not behind it, beside it. I loved you. I never once loved the version of you that came with guards and a title. He stared at her. 6 days of silence from everyone who shared his blood, and here was the one person they'd spent 6 years teaching him to see as temporary. They took everything, he said. The company, I don't even know what I have left. I know what they did. She set the folder on the blanket, not opening it yet. I've known for longer than you'd like. She didn't answer right away. She looked at him the way she used to look at a hull calculation that didn't balance. patient, exact, already 3 steps ahead of the question he was still forming. "I think," she said finally, "you should sit up a little more before I tell you." He didn't move. Neither did she. The folder sat between them, closed, holding something he wasn't ready for and couldn't stop wanting. "6 years ago," Olta said, "your grandmother told me a story about your great-uncle Sangmin. About a wife who got quietly erased from the family, one seating chart at a time, until nobody had to say out loud that she was gone." "I remember," Hak-kun said. "I told you not to worry about it." "I didn't worry about it." She opened the folder an inch, not all the way. "I started a notebook instead. Every time I got seated at the far end of a table, every photo I got cropped out of, I thought I was just keeping score for myself so I'd never doubt what I was seeing. That's not," he stopped. "That's not the same as this, as what happened to me. I know, that's why, when your business started getting strange 4 years in, contracts moving to Tiyang, territories reopening, I didn't think it was about me at all." She met his eyes. "Until my suppliers started dropping the same month. 3 of them, no explanation. I traced the shell company that bought them out. Olta, it was registered 2 blocks from your family's office." He went very still. "I didn't tell you," she said, and for the first time her voice caught, just slightly. "Just enough. I should have. I told myself I didn't have enough yet. I told myself I didn't want you choosing between me and your blood, before I could prove I wasn't imagining it. What do you have now?" She finally opened the folder fully, and turned it so he could see the first page. "Everything," she said. "Every transfer, every meeting, every name." 3 weeks later, the family called a ceremony. Tiyang would be formally announced as the new head of the Chun organization. A private hall, 40 of the family's most trusted people, champagne already breathing on a side table before anyone had said a word. Hak-kun was invited. His father made a point of it, sending the invitation himself. A small cruelty dressed as generosity. "Come and witness what you failed to protect." "You don't have to go," Olta said the morning of. "Yes, I do." He was buttoning a shirt he could barely lift his arm to close. "If I don't, they get to write the story without me in it at all. I'm done letting them write it. Then I'm going with you. They'll say..." She was already reaching for her coat. "I stopped caring what they'll say the day I opened that shell company's filing and saw your family's address on it." The hall went quiet when the doors opened, not respectful quiet, the other kind. His grandmother's mouth actually moved into something close to a smile. Tiyang, mid-toast, lowered his glass slowly, like a man recalculating. "You brought her," his father said. "Not a question." "I brought my wife," Hak-kun said. Someone near the back laughed, short, ugly, quickly swallowed when nobody joined in. "This is a family matter," his grandmother said, each word placed like a stone. "She does not belong in this room." "I don't need to belong in this room," Olta said, walking forward, folder in hand, voice even. "I just need everyone in it to see what's inside this." She set it on the table beside the champagne, opened it, wire transfers, dates, a shell company's registration with Bo Sung's signature on it. A recorded call, Tiyang's voice unmistakable, saying he'll wake up if he wakes up at all, and there'll be nothing left standing behind him. The room that had been laughing 30 seconds earlier wasn't laughing now. "You," Hak-kun said to Tiyang, and his voice didn't shake anymore. "Told them I was already gone before I'd even opened my eyes." Tiang's jaw worked. No answer came out of it. "For 6 years," Hak-kun said, turning to the room, to his father, to the elders who'd spent every dinner finding new ways not to say her name. "You called her a distraction, a weakness I'd eventually outgrow." He put his hand over Olta's on the table, in front of all of them. "She's the only reason any of you are hearing this from me instead of reading about it in a police file." Nobody in the room said a word. The company didn't come back to him whole. Some of it never would. Trust, once you've watched it get spent by people who share your last name, doesn't rebuild on the same terms. Tiyang was gone within the month. The elders scattered to whatever quiet arrangements kept them out of a courtroom. Hak-kun rebuilt smaller, slower, with people he'd actually watched prove themselves instead of people who'd simply always been there. He changed one thing first before anything else. He drew up new seating charts himself for every family gathering that still happened. Olta's name went at the head of the table, not beside him, across from him where he could see her. "You didn't have to do that," she said the first time. "I know," he said. "I wanted everyone in that room to have to look at you and remember exactly what you did for me, every single time they sit down." She didn't answer that. She just reached over and took his hand, the way she had in the car 11 years earlier, after a dinner where his mother hadn't said her name once. He thought about that night sometimes, how easy it would have been to let the small cruelties keep accumulating, one dinner at a time, until there was nothing left to notice. He'd been so certain once that loyalty only ran one direction, down from him, never up toward him from someone with nothing to gain. He still doesn't know what would have happened if she'd loved his crown instead of him. If this story moved you, you already know what to do. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from tonight. I read every single one. And while you're there, was it love or control that finally broke that family? I'm Angel's Romance Stories, and I'll see you in the next story.